short background. First of all, why is AT&T doing a VR workshop? Why are they doing a 360 video? They want to sell me a Samsung. It's S8, right? You want to sell me a phone, don't you? Actually, no. We're not here. We're not going to sell you any phones. But if you think about where AT&T is going as a company, and some things that have happened, of course, those who know, AT&T acquired DirecTV last year, and this year we're at least in acquisition talks with Time Warner. And even prior to these, AT&T has been in the sort of like content distribution cable business, because we have a product called Uverse that was here. I think we're in the southeast. We're not in the northwest, which is where I am. But we've been in that business of providing subscription TV service, internet to the house, phone, of course, and very similar to profile to a Comcast and other providers in that area. So with the acquisition of DirecTV, AT&T is now the #1 paid TV subscriber company in the U.S. So we have more paid TV subscribers than Comcast and NBC Universal and those companies. And in fact, even internally, we are, I'm now part of the AT&T Entertainment Group. So it's kind of even for us within the company, we're kind of feeling that kind of trend towards entertainment as part of our business. It's not just about devices and networking anymore. It's really about looking at things from the entertainment perspective. So it's probably easier to think of Ernie and I as being from DirecTV, and that might help like orient things a little bit. This is a presentation by DirecTV, because that's a little bit about what we're getting here today. We're interested in virtual reality and 360 video because we're interested in getting people to think about new ways of presenting their content. We want to get people thinking about things like a virtual experience, a 360 experience, which might be even like just audio oriented, video oriented. But to consider how we expand how entertainment is delivered today. Everybody gets their entertainment, everybody gets their Game of Thrones on TV. That's where most of that's delivered through a big paid subscription. And how can that change going forward? So we flip things up a little bit. Our team is running. We've always run hackathons, and we've done hackathons here in Atlanta for many years. We've also done workshops here in Atlanta for many years, but those were centered around IoT. So this year, our workshops are centered around more entertainment themes. So we have this workshop here on 360 video and VR. We're also doing Create-a-thons, which is our short film contest. Anybody here like to make videos? Anybody here like to be a filmmaker? Yes, I know some of you are filmmaker videos. We're going to be here, I have the date on some slides here, but I'll show that in a second. I'm going to skip ahead just a little bit. Here we go. The slide shakes a little bit because of the train goes underneath this building. And you'll notice every now and then, like that slide's going to start like moving up and down. It's not the projector, it's the train. April 21st to 23rd, right here in Atlanta, we're going to be doing a Create-a-thon short film contest. We're going to start on Friday night, invite everybody in, teams, production crews, actors, screenwriters, whatever, they all come over. Some people come as a team, some people come without a team, but they want to join one. We'll get everybody together on Friday night. From that night, you have from there on all the way through Saturday to do-your filming. And then we gather everybody in on Sunday, 2 o'clock, you get your script into, or I'm sorry, you get your completed video into us. And then we'll screen them all with some judges, and often the judges are selected from the meetups themselves. So AT&T does not judge those. And then we'll give away some prizes, but it's a lot of fun. These kind of things are very, very social events, and people enjoy going out and like having a prize to go for. So if you're interested in that, please join us on the 21st. But we're running these, we're running hackathons, we're running workshops, and we're running these Create-a-thons all around the entertainment team in 2017. So part of why we're here and why AT&T is putting these on. So I just wanted to kind of give you a little bit of that background. I'm also going to give one more shout out, and I know we're here in Atlanta, and this is in LA, but maybe you've got some friends in LA. We are doing our large conference for the year. It's going to be called AT&T Shape. We did one last year in San Francisco. This year we're going to be down in LA. We're going to be at the Warner Brothers Studios, which is kind of cool. It's a really interesting space to just do like a conference kind of thing. It'll be an entertainment-oriented conference. We'll have some celebrity speakers, as well as some industry insiders presenting about kind of the future of entertainment going forward. It's going to be a low-cost event. We're also running a film create-a-thon at that event, so that you'll have an opportunity to film on the Warner Brothers lot there on the day of the conference, which is kind of cool. And we're also doing a lead-in. Let's see, we call it the AT&T Entertainment Project Live. You'll see that. That's a national film contest that we'll be doing that will culminate in Los Angeles. The only caveat there, you've got to get yourself there for the actual event itself. But there you go. So think about these events. Keep AT&T in mind as you hear of our events kind of coming through and you have interest in these topics. We'd love to have you. We're here in Atlanta at least a couple of times a year. My group is, so we're always excited to be back in Atlanta. That's it. So I'm going to turn this now over. Daniel Buchanan from Agilability. And yeah, I got that out. Agilability. Let's see, AR/VR experience engineer. He's going to be walking you through. We have two different sections of the lab books, and everything that we're going through here is in these printed books that you have. The first part is going to cover 360 video, and the second part is really going to talk about how to take that 360 or a 360 image, then add these interactive elements to it. So it goes beyond just being able to kind of link them and hotspot them, but actually adding like real objects. And Unity is a game engine. You can do some pretty sophisticated things, but we're going to show you how you can do some reasonably simple and quick to put together things to add interactivity to a picture. So we'll hope you find that interesting. At the end of this, we're going to be putting out surveys. This right here is the very first of these classes that we're running. So this is the first time we're getting this particular curriculum in front of a group. Please write in those surveys what you thought. Did you hate it? Did you like it? Give us some stars, give us some comments, anything you want to see different. We actually read through them and we kind of switch things up between events when we can. So please look for those surveys through the end. But that's it for me, and I'm going to turn it over to Daniel. So thank you all for being here.
Thank you so much. Welcome everybody. I'm glad you all are all here. This success of this program really relies on people showing up. So I'm glad the Atlanta VR community is here today. It's really exciting. Just as a show of hands, how many people here are interested in creating 360 video VR experiences? Okay. How many people here are interested in creating VR applications? Okay. All right. Both, I guess, right? So let's get into this. My name is Daniel Buchanan. I am with a company called Agilability up in Knoxville, and we've been doing VR. We kind of came out of the web development and mobile development world, and we started noticing that this new cool thing called VR was becoming a possibility in 2013. I bought the DK1, the Oculus Rift DK1, which was just this huge tablet that you slapped onto your face, and it had really low resolution. And I was just amazed that this was something that you could get and that you could use. And so we just continued to learn and to grow with the technology. And we've got to do some really cool projects, work with some really cool people. And so that's how we got here today. And we're using it a lot for marketing, is what we're doing for marketing and tourism, real estate. Let's go over some of the topics. So I'd like to give you guys a brief introduction to VR and to 360. We'll get to that. Also have some of the techniques for 360 video work, the opportunities that are out there, and some of the pitfalls that we've learned the hard way. We will be working with 360 still images and interactive virtual tours, which used to be a lot more difficult to create than they are now. We'll introduce you to a piece of software called RoundMe that makes it pretty straightforward to go ahead and use your 360 panoramic photography and capture some really cool experiences and use those immediately. Just roll those right out to a website, embed that on your website, share that on Facebook. And we'll also talk about creating basic interactive VR experiences using Unity. So does anybody here have any experience with Unity 3D? A couple people. Cool. Good deal. Yeah, it's a great piece of software. So what is virtual reality? It's kind of pointless to talk about something if you don't know what it is. So this is a good definition from the VR book, which we have right here, written by Mr. Jason Joe right here. And according to Jason, the VR book, it says that virtual reality is a computer-generated digital environment that can be experienced and interacted with as if that environment was real. Okay? So we're talking about a simulation, right? We're talking about a simulation of reality, right? And so you can take that as far as near as you want to. I mean, that could be your computer screen. That could be a game that you've played, right? Or different types of virtual reality. But in this context, we're sort of going to focus on the VR with head-mounted display. Okay, you guys have seen this. And essentially, you've got a display that tracks your vision as you move around. It's got an accelerometer, and it's got all the things your cell phone has in it, which is why the cell phone is such a perfect platform to use for mobile VR development. Everybody's already got a cell phone now. They've got a little pocket computer that they're carrying around with them. So the more senses that you can involve in a VR experience, the more realistic it will be, okay? So they haven't really gotten down taste and taste and smell yet, probably for good. But they do have touch, the vibe, you can grab stuff and pick it up, you can get feedback, you can see things in VR, and you can definitely hear things in VR as well with spatial audio. So you have a user-affected environment that is around you. And what I mean by user-affected is you can do things to it, right? You can interact with it. So there's this element of interactivity that people crave, right? And you might not get as much of that with a 360 video, but you might get more of that with an interactive tour or with an application. So we like to define virtual reality as more of a continuum, not as just like a here's what it is, but put it in a broader scale where on your left you've got like AR, Pokemon, and on the far right we've got just a pure computer-generated simulation that people are walking around in. On the left is this Magic Leap's shared AR experience where everybody's wearing glasses and they see this whale jump around. This is a 360 picture or video here. So sort of a continuum of whether or not reality is involved in or not with what you're doing, right? Is this a totally reality-based experience like AR? I mean, this is just a weird little Pokemon jumping around in front of you, or is this something that's totally foreign and computer-generated, okay? And so what we're doing is creating alternative realities. With AR, which is a really exciting cutting-edge technology, we're sort of adding information onto the world. We're augmenting information, right? And the reason why people do that is to try to make the unseen seen, right? So there's some bit of information that would be useful for people to know about that they can't see. It's not evident to them, right? Maybe it's who you are, so they just met you and you have some cool little facial recognition app and it tells you, here's this guy's Facebook profile, here's the last 5 posts he did, here's some pictures he said. He just got back from New York City, this guy, he's all over the place. So that's one potential application. And the list going on. You can see this here, it's like the IKEA app, I think, which is out there now. Here's what your living room would look like, augmented with one of our fancy pieces of furniture, right? So they're using it for marketing. If you can see it, you'll probably want to buy it, right? So it's grounded in the real world as well. 360 panoramic still images are very popular. I'm sure you guys have seen these. It's usually captured with something as simple as your phone. So you can stand with a phone and you can just kind of scan that around and it will take a long photograph that can be stitched back together into an equirectangular picture, right? So you can have the entire world captured in one picture, right? Really high resolution. You can use multiple cameras. You can do it also with a single camera. You can do it with your camera now using Google cardboard camera. So the next step up from that, of course, is 360 video, which is where you have 60 frames of photography happening a second, right? So you have an array of cameras, kind of like what we've got up here, that are capturing video at 360 degrees. And this is projected usually on the inside of a sphere. So you have a sphere that the image is projected on, and your head basically draws the image in front of it, essentially. So it's a persistent display where your head determines what's seen. So you get to set the scene, right? And I think this is what is going to be very interesting to you all. There's a lot of cool technology and hardware innovations that are being rolled out at an ever-increasing rate right now, and this is not a done deal. People are still waiting for cheaper, faster, better solutions to capture 360-degree video. So still a lot of room for innovation there. And then, of course, we have alternative realities, right? We have a full virtual world where nothing in this resembles anything you've ever seen before. It's computer-generated assets. You have 3D models that you can interact with. You can pick up and throw around. It's like your HTC Vive. So everybody plays with the Vive. You know, job simulator. You're in the convenience store and you're throwing stuff around. So these are the types of alternative reality worlds, 3D modeling and animation. And you have to build those 3D models, right? You have to get at those 3D models. So I'll go over a little bit of the history of VR just real quick. It's been around for a long time. People have been trying to create stereoscopic images as long as they've been trying to create video instead of cinematography. So this is the home stereoscope. Look in there, there'd be two different images and they'd be slightly offset. The Viewmaster everybody knows about, which was, I don't know that you'd call it VR, but it is stereoscopic, right? So you have two different images that are offset. And you've got, this has been largely practiced in universities simply because the cost has been so high. The barrier of entry, people can't really afford to buy a $40,000, $100,000 VR headset for their home, right? So it's been limited, but they've been doing research with VR in universities for years. So there's a lot of academic research that's going on. So in the 80s, of course, it's really popular. There were VR-cades, but they're getting with really expensive equipment. The lag time, the latency time was slow. What we would not consider even doable. It would probably make us sick now. But it was cool though, right? So what really I think turned the page on VR was lower latency. And I know that doesn't sound really that exciting, but the ability to rapidly update the image that's on the screen that you're looking at at a really high rate, right? So you can see what's going on here. When you're moving your head around, things are just like, it's instantaneous. You are in this space. There's no lag between what you see and what's going on in the world. So these are some popular headsets that are out. You guys probably know the legend of Palmer Luckey, who has been ill-fated here recently, but his kind of kicked off with the Oculus Rift, kind of brought all of this back, right? Everybody's like, oh wow, this is something we can do. And of course HTC, I think they kind of stole the reign from that. And they sold more PlayStation VRs than anything else. There's like 900,000 of those in the field. So if you're looking to develop for a platform that people are actually using, that still has a lot of power, the console's a good way to do it. So there's been a lot of changes that have occurred in VR, and there are continuing to be a lot of changes in the market. This is by no means a done deal. So these are just some of the ideas, some of the concepts. These are some of the brands that you all may have heard of. Oculus Rift really have a lot of brand recognition, but they sort of, I don't want to say fizzled out, but they've not done quite as good as a lot of people had hoped. And Palmer's not with them anymore. The Vive, in my mind, is the de facto best VR platform that's out there, but that's only my endorsement. So does everybody know what haptics are? Haptics are like getting feedback. So like if you try to touch this desk, you can't pass your hand through it. It's like a feedback mechanism there, right? The desk doesn't allow you to do that. Well, you can do a similar type of thing with the vibration. Meta, I guess that's Meta IO, and then the Gear VR, which is probably one of the best mobile platforms up there with the Daydream, Google's Daydream VR. And then I saw Samsung just announced their new little platform last week. They're going to have a little hand control with their S8s. So let's talk for a brief minute about cinematic VR, because it sounds like something that you all are very much interested in. There's a quote from Chris Mill, who's a very profound creator. He says, virtual reality connects humans to other humans in a profound way I've never before seen in any other form of media, and it can change people's perception of each other. Okay? So he coined the phrase empathy machine. He's the person I know of to call VR an empathy machine. And what does that mean? What is an empathy machine? People talk about empathy. It's like stepping in somebody else's shoes, right? Getting a different perspective, right? Getting a different view of the world. Well, VR can do that really easily, right? The first Chris Mill film that I saw was The Clouds Over Cedar. Have you guys seen that? I mean, that was within a Syrian refugee camp. I mean, that's not a place that people would generally go to, but you see the plight of these people and you feel moved. You're like, what is going on? This is a human rights violation here. So that ability to put people in places where they wouldn't normally go, to take them out of their comfort zone, to be in new and exciting places, to learn and to train. This is the promise that 360 video offers. So it's really exciting stuff. VR is a new language. I mean, we got to think of this as a new art form with new tools and new mechanics that we can use for good, right? And so what we hope today to do is to present you some of those tools. So storytelling is a good way to come at this, I feel like. To tell stories, everybody knows what storytelling is, but you really have some unique sort of approaches to storytelling in VR. So if you think about it, what do people always try to do? What is literature? What is art? This is an attempt to convey meaning to people, right? I've seen something, I've experienced something in my life, and I want to share this with you, right? So people started just slapping mud up on the wall, right? Here's a picture of this little, piece of art that I drew, right? This gets more and more sophisticated throughout the ages, right? We have photography. Photography is a very useful way to represent reality, right? Because it's pretty accurate. You get into video, now we have time passing, right? And an experience. Well, now with VR, we can put people in more of a space, in more of a place, to whereas they feel as though they have a sense of presence, right? They have a presence somewhere else outside of their body. They feel like they are not where they were. So the impact that sort of immersion has is, a stronger sense of community and connection with the people that are in VR, right? You have this shared experience with each other. And you also feel an empathy here with the people that you see and communicate with in VR, if anyone. And then analytics is kind of worth mentioning because it's sort of one of the, the business approaches with, advertising in VR. I hate to even go here, but everybody's got to pay bills, right? So you can tell, I saw HTC is about to implement, about to roll out their advertising platform, and they'll be able to tell you, are people looking at your ad? Are they like it? How long are they looking at your ad? Is it for very long? And my only advice to everybody in this room would just be to keep it tasteful if you have to do it. I like the idea of product placement. If anything, okay, great, there's a bottle of Tide in the corner of this room, right? That's it. I hate the idea of you're in an ad now and you can't get out. To me, that's like the most frightening thing I can imagine. So, but it's going to happen. I mean, it is going to happen. We all know this. And so people in this room may be hired to do commercials. And so, So let's talk about the differences between cinematic VR and traditional filmmaking. So there are some stark differences between how you would create a normal video, classic cinematography, and 360 360. And a lot of these tie back to the experience that your viewer has. So, and the only way I can sum it up is in the word respect. You have to have respect for the human head that your camera represents. Do you hear what I'm saying? That camera is going to be a person's head. Imagine that's your kid's head, right? And you wouldn't want to show them anything too crazy. You wouldn't want to jar them around. You wouldn't want to throw them out the window of a moving bus. There's just things that you have to remember as far as respect. You want to treat the camera with a new level of respect. I'm sure cinematographers already do that, especially if it's an expensive camera. So the length of a shot. How long does a shot take? Do with new movies you see just doing cuts. Everybody's attention span is so short. Cuts. 5-second cuts. You don't want to do that in VR. People need to have a sense of, here I am. Wow. You're kind of you're exploring visually this space. You're looking around and you're like, wow, here I am. This is great. You don't want them to just instantly cut to the next thing before you've even gotten comfortable with where you are. So give people a little more time than you think to explore a place. How do you make people look around? A lot of the filmmakers that I've talked to are like, well, yeah, I like VR, I like 360 video, but how do you make them look at something? How do you do that? Well, make it light up, make it make noises, give them a reason to look at it. You can't necessarily just guide their head and make them look at it because they can look wherever they want. So these are the things that you think about. The motion problem is very much a problem. And I'll go into the why for this because I think it always helps. First I'll just tell you what I'm talking about. If you've ever seen VR and there's movement in VR, did you feel a little nauseous? Did you feel like, that was weird? It's a real deal. People can get sick from VR. And that's not what you want to happen. If you just made a video for something you spent all this time and money doing it on all these cameras, you don't want to show somebody having to get sick, right? Or feel nauseous in any way, unpleasant in any way, right? So the reason this is because the brain has sort of an internal accelerometer. It can tell if you're moving, right? If I'm moving forward, my brain can kind of tell I'm moving forward, right? I'm moving backwards. And my eyes, the direction I'm looking, what I see changes as I walk. If there's a discrepancy between what I'm seeing and what my brain is feeling, my internal accelerometer, my body thinks I've ingested poison, and it induces nausea to try to get rid of that poison. Okay, let's just get rid of this, right? He's eating some bad mushrooms or something. So you don't want to do that with VR. So you have to, there again, respect. You have to very much be in control of the speed. Whatever people say, it's very slow, very deliberate. You definitely don't want to ever accelerate and start moving faster and faster. That would just be painful. Maybe slow, deliberate movements, I think would be the best way to do it. So there's a lot that has to go into 360 video. I kind of think of it as like a camera obscura. When you think about early photography, people out in the desert with like, exposing silver plates or whatever they were doing out in the desert, and they never did have any idea what they had gotten until they got all the way back home. Well, if you have a camera rig like this, or if you've got a 6 GoPro rig, you won't see what you've created until you got back. So there's a lot of post-production that has to occur before you'll know. So test it, test your equipment often, just use it, go out and test it and see what you're getting. Does it look good? Do I need to underexpose? Do I need to overexpose? So if you've got 6 cameras, right, let me show you all what I'm talking about, because I think this will make a little more sense. And I'm just going to talk about this rig because this is a rig that I've used. I want to share some of my insight on this. This little 6 camera rig. You can use it like that, right? We have 3 up and 3 down. But if you think about that and you're outside, what's that going to do? You've got, at any point in time, you probably have 1 or 2 cameras that are fixing the sun, potentially, right? So you might want to underexpose those. You've got other ones that are pointed down. They might be just on the ground, right? And that might be, just may need to be overexposed to get more light, to receive a more equal balance of light. Another thing that I learned about this was I nutshell like this for a long time. And what I realized